So under micro insults are micro invalidations. This is where we get really into the nitty-gritty of inner voices. So it's communications that subtly exclude, negate, or nullify the thoughts and feelings of a person. For example, you have said this in passing to someone. Every single one of you have said it in passing with someone. You won't amount to anything. You are lazy. Don't you want to help me after all I've done for you? No one will tolerate you. You need to be the man of the house. You are just like your father, mother. Those can be classified under micro-invalidations. It's under the umbrella of microaggressions, which becomes a mental struggle for a lot of the kids that I talk to. So little statements like that on their own don't really amount to things. You won't see it in the daily lives, but you will start, as they grow older, becomes a cycle, and it cycles, and it cycles, and it cycles, and we get to where we are. Next slide. So one thing that I like to tell people when I create like focus groups that have I like to say that the kids these days are growing up with more disparities than ever before. Because of, maybe in your time you had just the news. Now we have radio, we have newspapers, we have online, we have Instagram, TikTok, we have Twitter or X. We have Reddit, we have Discord, we have school panels, we have high school, what's it called when they have that like sports stuff that they do? I don't know. I didn't pay attention in high school. I was writing books. But they have all of these different kinds of things that every single one of them is telling them all the news that are happening in the world. Maybe you will just need to focus on your family, your work, and then that's it. But now kids these days are focusing on, yes, their family, friends, what's happening in the world outside of where they are. They know what's happening 2 blocks away. They know about the stabbings that are happening in 20th Street at the same time knowing what's happening in Gaza. There is more disparities in the world and more ways to know about it. I find that I need to listen to the radio for only 2 hours a day. I can't do more of that, or I start becoming more depressed. So imagine now living in this hub or this mosaic that we are in right now, where we have different cultures, different people that we interact with. Youths in particular are in that world. We're always in that world. So I say these are statements that kids have said to me. I remember doing a focus group, and this 9-year-old kid came up to me and wanted to write a poem. And his poem was, "The world is burning, everything's on fire, I'm on fire." That was his poem. And I didn't know what to say to that. A 9-year-old kid, Found family is now becoming more efficient. So your friends, for example, they find more joy in being with their friends than they do with their family because of all of those micro-invalidations that sum up and sum up and sum up. There's a reason why bedrooms become a haven or a place of safety, because it removes them from everything else happening in the world. So how do we now bridge that world together? Next. So how has the world set your limitations? That's one of the questions I asked the youths. And this is their answers, No clear, stable support system. What is a support system for kids these days? It should be the family, should be your first support system. But when that fails, it feels like the foundation itself has failed. So what can you do then? Your voice is cut off by family hierarchy. When you're trying to talk about what's happening in life, you get shut down very quickly. And then you get shut down because of respect, and then it just stumbles, and we're back in step 1. There's no community building exercises in your daily life. This is where I work in. That's the job that I do. That's why I travel so much, because I'm literally trying to build little communities for kids and for youths all over Canada, because they don't have that. No set goals for the future, If insults are clouding your judgment, how can you set up for the future? And then the power of the tongue. This is very powerful for me. When you say that you don't amount to anything, when the world says you don't amount to anything, what can you amount to? It works in tandem with each other. Next slide. So how can you redefine your limitations to strengths? What are some experiences where you have put yourself in the mentality of lesser, and how can you build up from that? That's the next question that I usually ask them. What can you do to overcome your limitations? That's a lot harder to answer. It's very easy for them to say what is limiting them, but how to overcome is completely different. Because again, how can you overcome if your voice was never heard? You know? It's literally teaching people how to speak again before you can tell them how to overcome. Next slide. So this is ways that I have found my voice and ways that I tell other youths that they can find their voice. My only thing for me is finding a creative or physical outlet. That is so important to kids these days. Like, there's so many ways to be creative in this world. We have so much resources to be creative. You can go on soundscape.com and you can create music on your own. You can create your own album in your bedroom. That's how much resources we have. Being creative allows you to not have the pressure to be good. You know, you just need to start something, and it can be based on anything. I remember like journals and having journals upon journals upon journals. I didn't create any art from it, but me just writing helped me get out of that turmoil or inner voice that was plaguing the way that I see the world. So, you know, running, it doesn't need to be art, it can also be physical too. I like running at like 7 a.m. I'll wake up, because that means I'm waking up with everybody too, and I can run around the neighborhood, which is great. Finding a community where positive enrichment is the bare minimum. So what are community-based stuff that we do that where positive enforcement is the minimum? You don't have to be so amazing to get positive reinforcement. Workshops, for example, are so important. So places where you can go, that there's a teacher there that is saying, good job, keep going, you're doing great. That is what schools are supposed to be, but sometimes they're not. That's what family is supposed to be, but sometimes they're not. So where is places that you can find community that have positive enrichment? Setting boundaries when needed. We don't have enough time to get into that, but I really do hope that anyone listen, go and research what it's like to set a boundary and what that means to yourself. It really does help. And then, of course, understanding myself and my wants and needs. You have to learn how to speak again in order to know how to help yourself. Next slide. I think this is the last slide. Yeah. So last words. This is what I say to the youths at the end of each workshop that we do. And I also say to the parents, staying in bedrooms is not a sign of disrespect. It is a lack of a regulated space to flourish, be themselves, and have emotional needs met. What are they interested in? What do you create together? How do you make them community-oriented again? Someone said that they live in a bedroom family or a living room family. You know, are you a family that everybody's in separate bedrooms, or are you a family that everybody's hanging out in the living room? And if you try to think back to that, maybe that can help with what's the next step, you know. But the first thing is, what are you interested in? If the youths don't know what they're interested in because they've never been given the space to flourish, then how can you know what they're interested in? It's a two-way street. So that's my talk on youths, the youth version of Inner Voice. We'll have multiple different kinds of speakers today talking about the different sides of Inner Voice. But yeah, thank you for listening.